20 people signed up, but a lot of people asked for the recording too. So welcome team. Super excited for tonight's workshop. We've been bringing a specialty workshop every month at VFit for the last couple months. And I was so grateful when Victoria reached out with an idea of a topic she wanted to lead. And I was like, yes, that is not my specialty or domain. And I was super interested and curious. And this is fashion and dressing, in such a way with VFit of what is comfortable for us and our expression of our body and just love of fashion. And I just love when people are lit up. I've gotten to know Victoria. She's a VFitter for a while, New Jersey. You hear me call her out. And I've gotten to know her over the last couple of years. And just, I love when people have a passion for something and then that spills into helping others and be in the light. So this is going to be super fun tonight. We want it to be interactive, so I'm going to turn it over to Victoria and she'll get us going, but please feel free to ask questions. Again, this is a topic you're not meant to be an expert in, right? We all have different strengths and gifts, and so we have this amazing teammate here to share she's got a good, if you read her bio, extensive background in being a personal stylist, working for Anthropologie, some big names. So she's seen it all, worked with a lot of different people. And if anybody else, I just want to put out there too, if you have an area that you want to help share with the VFit world or present on, reach out to me. This is super fun. We're going to go back to hormones again next month, but I love doing these workshops for the team. So without further ado, we're going from California to New Jersey, and we're going to soak in. So ask some questions. I'm going to be chiming in if a question comes through the chat box. I'm going to turn it over when there's a good break. So the more interactive these are, the more fun that we'll have. So thank you for your time. Welcome. Here she is.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rochelle and VFit team and all of the VFit members who are here today and who will be watching the recording later. As Rochelle said, this is a topic that is just very empowering and exciting for me. I've been doing this for a long time, and I have found that my own, not just my style, but the way that I view clothing and wardrobe has really changed over the years, especially working with other women, and being in clothing stores where the main focus is, how do we get them to buy one more item? And like really taking a step back and feeling like, but if your closet is already full, like there's so many other ways that you can just explore and make yourself feel different. It doesn't have to always be, buying the latest thing. So that's a big part of where the idea for this workshop came from, and the direction that I've been taking the work that I do in this area. I do have a little bit of a life coaching background, so just having I've always been interested and really excited about self-development and self-exploration, and so I've really started to look at wardrobe as a way to it's just another tool to do that. For me, I am very inspired by anything that sparks my senses, and I find that clothing is a really good sensory sparker because you have what it looks like, what it actually feels like on your body. Sometimes even different fabrics even have different smells. If you've noticed, like silk has a particular smell to it. And so that has really helped kind of develop my own evolution in this area. So I won't talk too much about myself, since I'm sure that you were able to see my bio. And just very briefly, I did grow up in a family of shoppers, and shopping and finding the best deal was our sport of choice, and it was a lot of fun. But again, my focus started to really transition towards self-confidence, self-exploration, and self-expression. And that became really much more important to me than wearing the latest fashion or buying a new wardrobe this season. So for today's session, it's really about what I would call shopping your closet. Chances are we all have pieces there in our closets that we hardly ever wear, if at all, and we may have even forgotten about them entirely. So I wanted to give ourselves some time to work towards potentially making use of those long forgotten hidden gems, those garments that you haven't worn in years. Maybe because you didn't know what to pair them with, or because quite practically they were in such a dark corner of your closet that you just couldn't see them. So really kind of thinking about, and of course it can be totally overwhelming to think about revamping your whole closet, and like, don't think about doing it in one day. You can kind of do it piecemeal or whatever. And so some of the questions that I'm going to start asking, because this is really supposed to be like an exploratory section, we're most likely not going to create a personal vision for what our style is going to be going forward at the end of 40 minutes. But just to start kind of thinking about some questions and exploring what we might want to do here. So one of those questions is, and feel free to use the chat, or maybe if we want to use the hand raise, if somebody wants to unmute and talk about any of these very briefly. But so I have some possible answers for this. Your answer might be one of these. It might be an entirely different answer entirely. It might be a combination. So what do you dress for? Is it necessity? To express yourself, to feel a certain way? Maybe it's a certain adjective or emotion that you want to feel. For your work environment, for comfort, for style, or maybe a combination. So just kind of thinking about that a little bit. And this is about what you dress for right now. If we were to have done this 2 years ago, maybe your answer would be a little bit different. But what do you dress for right now? And then, because I don't think we need too much time for that question, but feel free to continue mulling it over as we continue. My other question is, how do you typically decide what to wear? So maybe it's, I pick based on my mood. I pick something that is expressive of me or my personality. Maybe I just grab whatever I see first. I pick what fits. I pick what is comfortable. I pick what I feel blank in. Maybe it's confident, powerful, or some other emotion. I pick my favorite outfit, something else entirely, or a combination. And if you need me to repeat any of those, feel free to just give a little hand raise. Okay, so I see some answers. Whatever I see, since I work from home. Okay, so that was how you typically decide what to wear. We've got comfort, function, and to work out as what you dress for. Okay, makes a lot of sense. um, and hopefully we'll be able to get into some of this towards the end. But I am a firm believer that you can dress for comfort and function and still feel like you look like $1,000,000. So so it might be a little bit of a journey to get there, but I am a firm believer of that. So again, I really ask these questions for a reason. It's to really assess your motivations for getting dressed and get a better idea of your wants and needs and what they actually are at this point. And it's also a prompt to decide whether your answer reflects what you truly want. So, for example, whatever your answer might be, like, think about, well, would you have wished your answer to actually be something else? And what does that say? So, for example, let's say you picked, I grabbed whatever I saw first, and you wish your answer was, I picked my favorite outfit. So, that might indicate that there's some other work to be done aside from just organizing your closet and taking inventory of the things that you have in it. So, yeah, really reflecting on that. Is the answer that you picked what what you would want your answer to be, or is there something else aspirational that might make sense for you? I'd say style and comfort. All right. Okay. All right. It will depend on what I'm doing, who I'll be seeing. Of course, that definitely makes a lot of sense too. Um, any questions so far, or before we continue? How are we doing on time already? Okay. All right. We're good. Okay. Um, So another question, I always find this one to be useful to reflect on at the beginning of doing this type of exploration, and then also again at the end. So how would you describe your style? So if you were to put into words how you would describe that right now, I'll give you a few moments to do that. And while we're doing that, I am also curious, um, for those who dress for comfort, like what does that mean to you? Like, is there any other, how do I phrase this? Like, oh, Valerie, I like that. Casual, but with an eye-catching piece somewhere. Perfect. Okay. That's because that is the direction that I love to see comfort for sure. I am a firm believer that comfort does not necessarily mean like baggy or shapeless. Comfort does not have to mean sloppy and has stains and a hole on it and things like that. But yes, that you can actually be comfortable and also feel put together. So that's definitely something that I always encourage clients and just anybody who I'm speaking with about this to do. Okay, so we asked about how you would describe your style right now in the present day, and then thinking about how your style may have evolved, if at all. And of course, I'm sure most of us have had some style evolutions from from childhood to now. But just thinking about any particular times of your life where something may have been sticking out as a particular type of style that you've been wearing, and then how that style has evolved. And a follow up question is, what aspects of your former style did you really enjoy? And there's a reason for that question too. So I'll give you a couple of moments to think about how your style may have evolved and what aspects of that style you really enjoyed. Oh. Come back to classics. Very nice. Okay, great. I'm reading in the chat a little bit. This is fantastic. Um, layering. Oh, I love layering too. Okay, so what I'm seeing in the chat, it seems like styles have not evolved that much, which is also perfectly fine. But if you didn't get a chance to pop something in there and you are uncovering that your style has evolved a little bit, um, other questions, what aspects of your former style did you enjoy? And also, would you like to bring any of that back into your present day style? And also, is it feasible and practical to bring those back? Did a change in lifestyle cause you to change your wardrobe? Just for any retired life wardrobe and stay relevant and put together. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I can also say, just a quick aside, I've definitely been following on social media, some Instagram accounts from women from just such a variety of different phases of life, some older, some younger, some who dressed in a more classic style, some who push the envelope a little bit but have some classic pieces in there as well. It's been really interesting and fun for me to see, and also a way to get some inspiration. I've definitely also been looking at some tutorials on how to wear your clothing in different ways, which has been so fascinating to me. Even like using a top, and instead of, like, for example, instead of putting the sleeves like your arms into the sleeves. You kind of put the top almost as like a strapless thing, and then you put the sleeve around and you tie it as a one shoulder, and just really amazing things. And what you could do with a belt is also really amazing. Um, how you button a shirt or cardigan can also change how it actually sits on your body too. So there's definitely a lot of there's so many resources out there for this type of thing. Um, so anybody want? Oh, hold on a second. What's this? Okay, we're talking about California lifestyle. Brought the fleece in my life. Okay. So again, these are some questions just to, perhaps continue ruminating on after the workshop, or perhaps, um, you're pretty set in your style and you don't really need to, um, ruminate on this one much more. Another question that I like when exploring style is, when you think about your happiest memories, how are you dressed? If you can remember that, like what were you wearing? Um, and some prompts um, if you can't really think about um, the specifics, maybe were there any colors, patterns, fabrics that you remember wearing, or where were you in those happiest moments? Who were you with? What were you celebrating? I think that it's a really great way to kind of bring elements of happy memories back to the present day. 80s fashion was the best at the time. Fun. I love it. That was Linda. So, okay. So, Rochelle has a question. When it comes to our closet, what would you say is a good rule of thumb when to keep it and when to let it go? So, I think there's a lot of people who kind of have a rule of thumb like, oh, if you haven't worn it in 6 months, or if you haven't worn it in a year. And I think that those are perfectly acceptable barometers. I think when you're doing a major closet overhaul, especially when we're thinking about, like, I just invited you to think about how, like, happiest memories, and you might pull something out that you haven't worn for the last 5 years, but the memory of what you were doing was so beautiful that you might want to keep it. So I would say that it's good to obviously take the things that you haven't really been wearing and try them on. And if they don't fit, or there's no way that you are able or willing to adapt or adjust them. So, for example, if there's something that you don't want to take to a tailor, or you don't want to move a button a little bit, or whatever it might be, if you're not willing to do that, and that's perfectly fine. That's not like a judgment call or anything like that. But that is, like, you should be empowered to feel like this item has had its day and I don't want to do anything else with it, and that's fine. So I would say start evaluating from there. And if there are some things that you're really kind of grasping with, do I throw this out or not? Or, well, let's not talk about throwing out, maybe, donating it or whatever it is that you might be doing with it. I would say find a spot in your closet or in your drawers or on a shelf where these items are very accessible to you, and give them another try. Even if it's like writing down like a couple of, like, write down the name of the item and then maybe some other things you can pair it with, and start having like a little style challenge for yourself. Put on that one item and then put on some other pieces and see how you feel in that outfit. And if you put it on and it's like scratching under your arm, or it just, or it's a long tunic and as you're walking, the longer part is like getting between your legs, or whatever it might be, it might mean that, you know what, like, this item was just really never for me. I'm not comfortable in it, and I gave it another try and I'm done. I have to say, I have several items where the guilt of letting it go because I didn't wear it enough times is very powerful, and can really get in the way of having a wardrobe that that you love. So definitely, I think part of the evaluation process is actually putting it on your body again and giving it a try and seeing. And uh, you know, it's up to you to decide where and when you want to do that. Like you might want to do it in the comfort of your own home. That way, if you're completely uncomfortable, you could just change into something else. Or maybe it's a party dress and you have a party that you're going to in 2 weekends from now and you want to give it a try, then go for it. I think that, giving each of those items another try before you just get rid of it entirely is just a really important way to go about this, and also really, continue evaluating and discovering your style. Again, I think that there are a lot of hidden gems in our closets that if we just take a moment to go back in there and be like, okay, let me give this a try. I actually did that over the winter. My mother-in-law was over. We had done a little bit of shopping for her, and she bought this amazing jacket with these big buttons and a Nehru collar, and it was just so unique. It looked like she got it in a boutique, but it was at like Boscov's. And we were going out for dinner, and I was inspired. I was like, I have these jackets that I hardly ever wear. And so I put one of my jackets on, also had a Nehru collar. And it was like a brocade fabric, and it was great. And it was nice to kind of give it a little bit more life, whether I decide to keep it in full rotation in my wardrobe or not. Any thoughts or questions so far about any of those things? All right. So I would definitely love to know some of your happiest memory stories. So if we don't have time for that during this, definitely please feel free to reach out to me and share. Or I'm sure Rochelle is open to us sharing in the Facebook group if anybody is open and comfortable to doing that. So I would definitely encourage that too. And then another question that Yes. So Linda, you're right. Yes. So Linda says, I like the shopping your closet idea, but to do that, you have to organize it in a way that you can see what you've got. Absolutely. So I do have a couple, I'll just give a couple of really quick tips about that. One of the things that I like to do is put my darker colored items in the brightest parts of my closet, because I find that if they're in a dark corner, I can't see them and I'm not going to reach for them. So that's just like one little quick tip. Of course, I think we all have those moments where you wear something for like maybe an hour or two and it's not quite dirty, but so one of my tips is to just kind of like, you can put the hanger a different way in your closet, or maybe you have a hook where you keep those items or something like that. And there are a lot, and now this can also be very time consuming. But once it's done, it can be really helpful. There are several different apps that exist for kind of keeping inventory of your closet. Many years ago when I was in college, I had this goal of wearing a different outfit every day of the semester. So it could be like I could wear the same pieces, but not the same pieces together. And I think towards the end of the semester, I just kind of like abandoned the project, but it was a lot of fun. So even if for nothing else, just like keeping a very simple notebook where you write things down. But yes, one way to make it easier is to eventually, and I know it can feel very, very daunting. So, I mean, even for me, I do not want to do this, not one bit, but taking inventory and having things written down, or I mean, honestly, I think having the visual of a picture of the item is probably more useful. But if it just comes down to an easy approach of just like putting it down to pen and paper, as you start wearing things, you can write them down and then try to move the items that you've worn into like the deeper part of your closet and take the other pieces and bring them to the front so that you can start wearing those and exploring and deciding how you feel about them. So that would be what I would suggest. So yes, I mean, organizing is just a whole other animal. We could probably spend like we could do a 2 week course just on organizing your closet. But oh, Stacey, I'm so pleased to hear that this has been helpful for you so far. Okay, and let's see. We have a memory, happiest memory. Lightweight clothes like a sundress or cute tank and shorts on a warm evening with an ocean close. Amazing. Okay, I can definitely see that as part of your style. I love it. um, so another question that I like to ask, for just again exploring, but feel free to share. What role would you say you'd like style to play in your life? So again, and I guess I'm a little bit biased because I tend to use style to reflect my personality. But so one of those suggestions is I use style to reflect my personality. I want to have fun with my style on a regular basis. I want to be known for my style. I want being stylish to be effortless, or maybe something else entirely. So that's, what role would you say you'd like style to play in your life? And there's no, of course, no right or wrong answers here. It's just purely for your own self exploration and seeing how you might want to use style going forward. Again, I really love it as a way to just express personality. So to me, it's about color, pattern, um, how clothing can shape your mood a little bit. Um, Again, because I think that color is a very powerful tool for yourself and how you feel internally, and also what you project to others. So yeah, I think it's definitely a really interesting, which kind of brings me to my next question of how would you say your clothing does affect your mood and perhaps even your level of confidence? And Linda says, I like when clothes make me feel happy and confident. I also like when people say, oh, that's a Linda sweater. I love that. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So again, it doesn't have to be that it is what society says is the most stylish thing. It's about using clothing and wardrobe to tell a story about you. That's really what it's about. That's part of what brings me the most joy about all of this. So again, how you would say your clothing affects your mood and your level of confidence. And once you answer that question, knowing that after you've explored it, what are some changes that you might want to make to your wardrobe, if any at all? Of course, you don't have to. Um, and so the next question is that, so we talked a little bit about the clothing you typically wear. We've talked a little about changes you may have made and observed in your style over the years, or maybe observed that you haven't changed your style and had more of a classic approach. So now we've talked about it a little. How would you describe your style? And has anything changed? Just in this little exploration that we've been doing, are there any different words and adjectives that you might use for it? Anything that um, is more of a parallel to how you would actually describe your own personality? Okay. So again, I just invite you all to, oh, yes, exactly. It is a reflection of our personality and not just what is in. Um, and definitely, as I have been observing, even what we see in clothing stores. And I actually read an article maybe about a year ago where they were talking about how it's harder these days to identify like what and like over the last maybe 15 years or so, like what era that show was just based on the clothing, which I found really interesting, that there have been other decades where there's like a clear, oh, this was the 70s, or oh, this was the 60s. Whereas these days it's a little bit harder to define, which I found really, really interesting, and kind of goes in line with my own hypothesis of like, I feel like we keep getting closer and closer to this anything goes type of situation when it comes to fashion and style. Like, I don't think, or maybe it's just as we get older, we don't care as much. I don't know. But just the idea of, I don't feel as, I want to say judged, but I don't know. It just seems like there's less of that feeling of, oh, I have to, oh, it's a new season. I have to change my whole wardrobe. I think that, people are really trying to maximize as best they can what they already have, and really enjoy, I guess, what they have, as opposed to waiting for whatever the next thing is. So I see we have a couple more comments in here. Trying to buy less. Yes. Yes, we don't. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So buying fewer quality pieces that are deliberate is my goal. Yes, I hear that so much myself. I have noticed the quality of clothing going down so drastically. In fact, that is part of what has taken me away from doing in-store styling, is that I feel like the prices have gone up and the quality has gone down. I don't know how many times I have purchased something and the first day I'm wearing it, it's getting like, it's pilling in any spots. So like on like where the arm and the trunk of your body meet and those parts rub, it's getting all that pilling stuff. And it's just so disconcerting to see that. And of course, a lot of people talk about fast fashion and all of that, but it is just really difficult to find pieces that are really well made. And I think also it's not even so much how the pieces are crafted, but the quality of the fabric themselves. And what I would give to have some of the items that I had from like 20, 30 years ago, because I feel like the quality was so much better. Let's see, we have a suggestion of a Facebook group, Travel Fashion Girls. Okay. Wait, she's in a red hot. So, oh, interesting. Okay, thank you for sharing that. So, all right, we have a couple of thoughts on what some trends are, especially in Europe and on vacations. Okay. Um, and let's see, we had Valerie say, I want my clothes to convey energy and vitality with color and style along with comfort. I love that. Very nice. It's a nice way to kind of refine a little bit and get a bit deeper into what you want your clothing to do for you. All right. So I think that were some of my main questions for inviting you all to explore your personal style. Are there any other questions for me, or maybe something that I didn't cover that you'd like to ask about or play with a little bit? Because I mean, I think, what do you think about jewelry and hair and other accessories? Oh, interesting. Okay. I mean, I think it's all like very personal choice. Of course, there are some things that you read that might be in or out or whatever. I know that there's this whole thing about side parts not being in style, and I just don't care. um, but so for jewelry, I think it also depends on whether like you are the type of person who wants to wear quality pieces that you wear every day, or you like fashion jewelry and you want to have things that that portray different looks, and I think that there's room for both of those in everyone's style. But I mean, I think that if there are pieces that you wear every day, then it doesn't really matter whether they're in style. If they have sentimental value or they're symbolic of something for you, you're just going to want to wear those regardless. Um, and as far as hair, so I will also admit, um, I love the idea of color theory and like, are you a winter or spring and all of that. And I have tried desperately to, there's this one Facebook group that I'm in where they kind of give these pictures and they're like, what colors, was it the warm colors or the cool colors that this person looked better in? And I always have such a, it always seems like one is a clear winner. And then I study the pictures more and I'm just like, I don't know. And sometimes I think what also affects it is what is in the background too. Or, it, you know, obviously the lighting could be different or the person's face, like when, if you are turned this way in one and then head on in another, it's going to look different. And so the colors are going to look different. Or it could just be that I just don't have the eye for that. I don't know. But I think so getting into hair in terms of like hair color and things like that. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think everybody should just do their hair in a way that they like and that is manageable for them. Um, and I love the idea of not going too much against whatever your natural hair pattern is, like whether it's straight or curly and blah blah blah. But I mean, if you like to play with that and you found some ways to make it easy to kind of switch from one or the other, I think that that's great too.
Anyone have any questions? I know it's such a good, fun topic, and I think like, yeah, with hair, like I used to fight it and want to straighten my, at some points in life, you want like whatever you don't have, like I, you know, your friend has long legs, someone has bigger, like there, you're always looking at different things, and it's like, okay, what am I given to work with, and how do I, make it me? So I think,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me too, I'm sure you know, my hair is actually curly, but and I typically leave it curly, especially in the summertime because yeah, it's a disaster. Um, but I did recently get it cut, and so typically for like the first couple of weeks, I just kind of like let it be straight for. And also, anytime you put hair dye in it, it's a lot easier to do it when it's straight. So, so we had a new dye job, and so that's part of that. But yeah, um, definitely over the years, just seeing that in the summertime, it just wants to curl. So why fight that? But I did discover ways to make it a little bit easier if I want a little bit of a smoother look. Oh, we have another question here. Let's see. I'm in a transitional life stage. I'm realizing that I don't feel like my clothes reflect who I am currently. Where would you suggest starting in terms of revamping my closet to reflect this time? Okay. So I really like the idea of thinking about pieces that you've worn that just spark really good memories for you. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm very moved by that myself. Or I mean, there are times if like anytime if I got sick in something and I was wearing something, it's like it goes, it's like I take it off, it goes right in, I wash it, and I just like put it away somewhere and don't really think about it for for a while because it still has like that memory of being sick or whatever. um so I mean that's just like a silly thing that happens to me. But or like if I have a bad day and something, I just like I give myself some time and space from that outfit before trying it again. So I think that's part of why I'm focused on taking the pieces that you remember, just like really happy memories in, and trying to use that to help project more happiness into your life. So, Diana, I'm not sure what type of transition it is. And if, focusing on the happy things is something that might speak to you. But that is something that I would do and just see if those are actually pieces that you want to keep. And then start revamping your closet from there. Does that make sense?
I think, oh, I don't know what transition either, but I was thinking from like when I worked into an office to, running an online fitness studio, like, or
Hmm.
maybe going from working in an office to retired, or going from a big like life change, like a
Mm,
divorce or a big like, I don't know, I like,
okay.
those different, I have no idea, but I was thinking for me, I
Yeah.
kept my old work clothes for a long time, like, and then I realized
Hmm.
like, I'm not going back. Like they were kind of
Mm.
almost like holding me hostage of this fear of like having to go back to a
Uh,
job that I didn't want. At
yeah.
one time I was just like, if I have to go back to an office, I could buy new clothes. Like I don't
New
know. It was
clothes.
like they were almost
Hmm.
holding me hostage in a way.
Yeah. Well, that's that. Thank you for sharing that, Rochelle, because that was really helpful because definitely I would say so. It sounds to me like you had like a yeah, like those items were actually dragging you down in a way. So it makes perfect sense to me that you would want to get rid of those types of things. Um, but by the same token, if there are things that you actually loved, but your life has transitioned in that type of way, like don't wear them anyway. Like if you love them, wear them anyway. Actually, I started this thing locally that I call Little Black Dress Party. And so we get together at like a little place and have cocktails. And the whole point is to wear, especially, during the pandemic when we weren't going anywhere and, maybe you had these bazillion pieces and, but just like wear the outfit anyway. So what? So the whole thing was to just have an excuse to wear something that you like. And most women have some type of black dress or even an all black outfit. So we started there. But the idea is to kind of continue with different themes. So, like maybe a tropical florals theme, or everyone wears pink, or all white party, black and white prints. So many different ways that you can kind of explore that, and just whatever makes you feel happy, just wear it like as long as it's not uncomfortable, like wear it anyway, wear it in your house. And that's part of your style. And then if, I don't know, you have to like run out to run an errand or a friend says, "Hey, you want to meet for dinner?" And you're already dressed and now you can go. So so So, okay. So the clothes are holding me back and yeah. So then I would say in that case, Diana, that I would say to focus on the items that make you feel most connected to yourself, I guess. Um and comfortable and powerful and confident, and that um again, I don't know what other emotions might be attached to that relationship and what stage of the, I guess, letting go process that you're in. But if you're feeling that your clothing is holding you back, I think that some of those questions that we were asking ourselves earlier about, how hold on one moment here. Like what you get dressed for, and then also um so what you get dressed for, how you decide what to wear, and then evaluating like whether the answer you pick is the answer that you actually want it to be. And when I have instances, whether it's about this or something else, where um, the answer that I pick is different from what I want it to be, that tells me something about like, oh, there's like a little bit of exploration and work to be done here. So, like, how do I get from this point of where I am to where I want to be next? And it doesn't happen necessarily overnight. No, you know, well, sometimes we get those aha moments, but just trying to um, have grace, I guess, in the whole process. And huh.
No, this
Oh,
was so good. It is such a topic, it's like food, like you get dressed every day, you wear different clothes,
yeah,
you do it sometimes multiple times a day, right? Like, so this is just a good topic. And yeah, anyone listening here live or on the recording, and we'll get it up on the podcast and all over. Um, yeah, if you want to reach out to, it's kind of like different kinds of coaching, and if it's an area you want more help and guidance with, I know Victoria has different options or works with people one-on-one because it is a very specific you know topic, and it is a bigger thing than I think a lot of us really realize, because yeah, this was really good. You do have beautiful energy, and I knew you would
thank you. Thank
bring
you
me.
so much. This was a lot of fun, and
Yeah. And again, these are topics we can go back to, and just like different, more questions. I know not there weren't too many questions tonight, but you know, everyone hopefully got something out of this, and
yeah,
going to think about a little
thank you.
more about, how we're addressing
Yeah,
ourselves. Like it's a self-empowerment expression of yourself. I think that's the most powerful thing I
uh,
got.
yes, absolutely. And yeah, I think it's a different way to look at it. So definitely, just sit with it a little bit and see how you feel, and if you want to, play in your closet a little bit more.
Let's
Thank
all
you
go
so
find
much.
something.
Oh, thank you. It was so much
Aw.
fun.
All right. Thank you all for joining us and
Thank
listening.
you.
And that was fun. And yeah, I appreciate you so much. And
Oh, my pleasure. This was so great. I'm really glad we
oh,
did this.
everyone said good energy. Yes,
Thank
fun
you. Thank you,
topic.
everyone. I'm so glad.
All right. Have a beautiful night, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.